Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another InGear Motorsport live stream. Joining us for, believe it or not, round number 5 already of our British GT Championship. I'm Mackenzie, if you're new to this, and I'm joined in the commentary box by Charlotte, and we'll be taking you through tonight's action. So plenty coming up. Charlotte, how's it all going tonight?
Yeah, not too bad. Living the hay fever life at the moment, hence no camera.
Yeah,
So
hay fever life has definitely kicked in, hasn't it?
I think a few of the drivers are suffering as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, we're just chatting. So I think Harry suffers from it a little bit, and a few do. So yeah. So we are here tonight then at Snetterton for our 5th round of the British Championship. Following on from Spa Francorchamps, the away race off to Belgium, just like the actual British GT Championship does. Feel free to say hello and comment along in chat and let us know who's watching and what your expectations are for tonight's racing. But it was Dominic Stallman who was back on top last time round, and first time in a while where we've seen him put in one of those commanding victories. So the guys will be definitely trying to claw him back. Wet conditions do normally shake things up a little bit, which, as you can see, it is looking a little bit damp over in Snetterton Circuit tonight. So that should shake things up a little bit. But Van Manikes, the Dutch driver, also had a good race and a great battle with Bjorkman last time as well.
Yeah.
Bart finally got into P2 and Bjorkman had to settle for P3. He was running more ballast in that race and put up a good fight to hang on to that podium. French still there in the knock-ins. I think that the Drivers' Championship is, still pretty close. When you start taking drop scores, especially for P2, there's only a few points between Buchan, Bjorkman and Curran for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, as it is. And that's before drop scores come into effect. So plenty to pay for. But if you're new to this, let's take a little look at timings, or let's just take a look at timings anyway, because we're going to, and find out what's coming up for the rest of the evening. But essentially, it's our now normal format for British GT. Drivers have just started qualifying as we've started the stream, so that's underway. It's 15 minutes for them. Small gap in between to get things settled, and then after that, it's on to race, which is a 1-hour race. The drivers have to make one mandatory pit stop during that race, and it is a wet race as well. So should be interesting to see how things get shaken up a little bit tonight. But I think, Charlotte, we should probably jump straight in and see how things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm having a little bit of a look over on our separate stream at the moment, and it's looking rather damp, I think is fair to say. So we'll see if things get a little bit weather-wise, but I know the guys were prepared for this, the way the server's been set up over the last week or so, weren't they?
Yeah, and particularly when it's raining, I know a few of them like to get on and get some good laps in. Of course, just like the real world, the weather is dynamic, so it can change. So you can practice in one condition, and then it changes a little bit when you come back, which I think is something a few of them have struggled to get used to sometimes, because so much of sim racing is done on hot, sunny days. In the virtual world, because you can of course simulate the weather how you like, but I like throwing in these wet races every now and then, and it is the British GT Championship after all, so as much as it's scorching hot for most of the country at the moment, bit of wet racing never goes amiss for us.
Yeah, I was going to say there's never a British Championship where someone's not, or there hasn't been at least a round that's been in the rain, is there? So keep things as realistic as we possibly can, like you say, though, even though we're all sat here with the fans on in the background and eyes streaming from hay fever.
Desperately trying to stay cool. Yeah, and could feel like the PC just pumping out heat running the game, because it does look beautiful, this game, as you can see, and especially when people load in their custom liveries and things that they all have as well. But if you're watching along, let us know and say hello in chat, and Charlotte and I'll keep an eye on that and see who's here for this evening's event. But qualifying about 10 minutes to go, and then we'll find out what the starting grid order is for our 1-hour race. Looking at Harry Melvin at the minute then, before we jump away, why don't we jump on board with him for a moment just to see. He's running P2 at the moment, so he's at the sharper end of the grid, which is good. Race Director Ben is back in the background for fans of Race Director Ben there. I'm sure there's a Cannon Monster around. Let's get that out of the way early. Enjoying himself as we're riding on board with the InGear Motorsport car, which features some Monster Energy logos around it. I think it's just becoming a thing now that everyone has to include it in their livery design. So, Charlotte, I think you've done a lot of laps around here, haven't you? Back in the Lotus days, maybe the other stuff as well. But what insight can you offer up for Snetterton?
I think it's actually one of the most challenging circuits. I mean, it's certainly a very good track to shape a car down, or actually just be at one with the car, because it's got all these different types of corners in them. So we've got some fast flowing corners. The section that Harry's on, that we're currently on board at the moment, the bomb hole, that is a, you know, a flat corner, but it's one of them you've got to really trust the car and trust yourself going into this tight corner coming onto the straight. So it's fast and flowing in areas, and where they changed it from Snet 300 to Snet 500 and putting that kind of infield section into the circuit, it really brought a different dynamic to it. So yeah, it's certainly going to be challenging for the drivers as well, because it's fairly wide and open, but the actual runoff is very minimal. So you can only run so wide, and then you're literally on the grass, if that makes sense. So,
and as we know, when it's raining, running on the grass is one of the slippiest surfaces in the world, isn't it? You actually feel like you speed up rather than slow down. But Harry doing a good job at the minute. Let's take a bit of a look and see what else is going on out on track. It's actually Buchan that's on provisional pole at the moment, so perhaps we should check out E-Team Brit driver Martin Buchan. There we are. Got a nice little bit of space. Moves actually slightly quicker on his current lap, you can see, because it's green in the top left corner. Just noticed as well, of course, that Kirk's back racing this time after joining us in commentary last time around. So good to see him back out there in the thick of it. But yeah, you can see there's a slightly drier line as well. So it's not as heavy rain as what we had at Donington a couple of races back. But this hopefully means that since we can control the forecast, we might have a slightly drier race at Alton Park, which you could argue is even harder in the rain. At least Snetterton has some space.
Yeah, I think this is really where you see as well what drivers can like feel the level of grip out there and adjust accordingly, because especially if it's a drying circuit, that's where you have to push yourself or be pushed. So, you know, for that person that's out in the lead and, you know, obviously currently Buchan, albeit qualifying, he's the one that's almost got to set the tone of like, how much do we need to push on? Because if he starts seeing a car behind closing up the gap, then he knows that, hang on a minute, there is a bit more grip to be found in the circuit. Where can I find it? And that's that challenge of kind of being in your own air at that point. So we'll see who adapts to that. Curran is someone who always does very well in these conditions. Stallman, we know as well, does incredibly well with this. So it'll be good to see what happens. Yeah, an hour's race around here is long. It is actually quite a physical circuit. You know, it's slightly different elements down, albeit, you know, we know that racing in the real world is super physical, but for these guys this is really challenging this evening. It is hot, you know, we've already spoken to Harry this evening, and we know that he's got the fans going and things like that. So there's other challenges this evening to kind of get their head round.
It's a bit of a weird combo, isn't it? I'm just going to ask race director to bring up the live timing screen before it changes, because at the moment Melvin and Bjorkman have done the exact same time down to the 1,000th of a second, which is quite cool. So they're both exactly 1.20 tenths off of pole. So very close between the top three. Bjorkman, the only one of those three currently running success ballast, which is what that plus 10 means on the far right. That's because he was in the top three last time round, so he gets himself an extra little bit of weight to try and slow him down and even it out. So the top three, you always get that. And you can see then a bit further down, Dominic Stallman, the previous race winner, has got 30. And currently down in P9 is Bart van Menikes, the Dutch driver in the Mercedes GT3 2020 machine, with 20 kilograms of ballast. So looking pretty close at the front end. It's Bjorkman that's quickest in the first sector. Buchan's quickest in the second by quite a margin, and in fact no, not by much at all actually. Sorry, I take that back. And then Melvin in the third sector. So that bodes well for a race as well, where different cars are quicker at different parts of the circuit, because drivers are catching and then losing on each other as you go through. So there we are then. If you're probably able to spot a few names, if you're looking out for anyone particular, of course let us know as well. We can jump on board with them. Let's have a little bit of a run through the grid and see who's here then out of the other drivers. Ollie Moss in P7. He had a real fight on his hands with that McLaren at Donington in the wet last time, so we'll see how he gets on around here at Snetterton. McLaren's not a bad car around here in the dry. I've got no experience of it in the rain to be able to tell you. But he's down in P7 at the moment. And let's have a look and see what else is worth taking a look at. Let's go and see the Vegas Performance driver, Dom Stallman, for a minute, especially as Buchan's just teleported to the pit lane. One of the slightly unrealistic parts of the game, I guess. You can just jump to the pits anytime you like. I see Ian's made it on as well, Mr. Hudson. So he was in there somewhere, or he was. Yeah, he is currently in P8 actually. So that's not looking bad at all. I feel like I just saw the Warbird of.
They did say that they were going to bring back the old livery.
Maybe he's put that livery on now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's supposed to be on the whole time. I'm having a complete brain phase to the fact that he's been in the Lamborghini the whole time, or has he changed car at Sharben?
Oh, I don't know.
That's it.
No. No, I've got him down as the BMW.
Ooh, we had a sneaky car change there from.
Yeah, he entered in the BMW.
I'm not sure at what point he changed. Oh, we'll have to have a word with him after that one. It's normally okay if people sort it out in advance, and depending on kind of if they're fighting for championships and where they are in points. So it's nice to see the Warbird anyway. It's just that completely threw me for a second. Wonder if Warren's going to be on cheering Kirk back on again this evening. Just seen Phil's commented that he's melting as well over on YouTube. I mean, Phil's done that whilst he's been out on track as well. Previous driver of the day, Mr. Lima there. Good to see you. Good to see you back again.
It always makes me giggle how these drivers manage to be driving. They're currently in qualifying, yet still give us a little hello on YouTube. That is multitasking.
I'm tempted to just
Phil's just sorry to interrupt there, Mackenzie. Yeah, Phil has just said we're not going crazy. The heat hasn't got to us. Yeah, he has changed the Lambo this week. Yeah, my spreadsheet is never wrong. Just to clarify.
No, yes, that is one thing you can always guarantee with Charlotte is if she has a spreadsheet, it is not wrong.
And if it is wrong, then it's right.
The world's ending. Yeah, it's still right anyway. Yeah. So we've been looking at Bjorkman. There's Heath on your screen at the moment as well in the BMW. So he is in the BMW, and that's the livery that Sharman was racing with, and the car that Sharman was racing with. Let's check out this Warbird quickly, shall we? We will go through the final qualifying result after everyone's set their laps. That's fine. We can have a little look at the Warbird in the pit lane still, if we can find it.
Right.
Race Director's got to move the camera around a little bit and do some trickery. Look, got some marks on the side of victims claimed, I think, as they would traditionally do on the Warbird machines. You can see the angry mouth and eye at the front. Pretty cool, isn't it? I know that spent him he spent a lot of hours making that. So it's one of the things we do is let people make their own liveries. And there is some nice ones out there. I really like Vegas Sims' new one. I like this one, of course. You can see the Attack Vector racing livery in the background. Might as well jump to that while it's in the pit lane as well. The Bentley of Billingham.
Wasn't he in a pink Bentley last week?
Yeah, it was a special one-off tribute to Antoine Hubert last time, which was actually quite nice, hence the pink. And they've gone back to their blue and orange colours for this one. You could still see on, I think, one of the sides they've got that. I know it is their story on the door there, the AH. So it's quite a nice little tribute from the Attack Vector boys. So currently P18 for Billingham. I know that they were starting to do a little bit of testing last night, but hadn't done the running that others had. Oh, Barnyard over on Twitch. Can't wait for the race. Good to see. Oh, Warren's there as well. Hello, Warren. Yeah, just seen that. Yeah. How's Kirk going to do tonight? Do you reckon? We're due like a race win or a second or something at some point in this series, aren't we? He had some serious pace at one point, didn't he? I guess he had a bit of a bad race and then didn't do the last one.
It was like in the Italian, was it Italian series?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty lit the whole time, wasn't he? So I actually think these British tracks have challenged the drivers a little bit more than the others because they, were new onto the game as well. So there's clearly been less time spent on them. It's kind of been a little bit more noticeable, hasn't it? And it's definitely started to push the drivers and challenge them. These tracks as characteristics don't have the amount of space and the amount of kind of like forgiveness that a European circuit would have.
Yeah, so not as much runoff.
Yeah,
literally Silverstone, and that's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and even Silverstone's not the easiest circuit in the world.
No.
Drivers love going to it for a reason. It's not because it's a super easy circuit, that's for sure.
Yeah, that Maggots Beckett's kind of combination is well. We saw, it claimed Chrissy Palmer, in fact, didn't it? Earlier on in the season. So, a few drivers still finishing their laps. They are allowed to finish their lap once the timer hits 0. So we will do the full run through. Just seen French pop a time in there. That's just 400ths up the road on
Think
at the moment.
on drop scores as well, French is in the running.
French is, very, that's a good point.
He's got some, looking back at the scores now, if I just quickly put it up, Bjorkman has got a DNS. So he's effectively with,
he won't lose any points on drops.
Exactly. So
yeah, it's where it pays off sometimes to just have that that drop score for some drivers. I managed to press the microphone button on my phone and it had typed out a whole message that it was about to send in Twitch chat, but luckily I saw it and deleted it. It was like listening to my voice the whole way through. Anyway, drivers are finishing off qualifying. We'll pick up the results in a couple of minutes' time, so let's just go to a quick break and then we'll be back before you know it with the race. Welcome then, everyone. Round 5 is just moments away. The drivers are on the grid and ready to take to the track for 1 hour of racing here at Snetterton. Over on the eastern side of the country then, and it's certainly raining in game tonight as much as it's pretty hot in the real world for most of the UK this evening. So the drivers got their work cut out for them. Let's run through the grid order. And it was French that's popped it on pole right at the last second by just a matter of hundredths. Very close between the top few drivers, so looking forward to seeing what sort of battles we have on track between them. So French in the Aston on pole, Buckin is in P2. Again, strong result for him and his E-Team Brit Lexus. Mercedes of Harry Melvin and the InGear Motorsport car in P3. Bjorkman in the Audi in P4 and Mitchell in the Porsche in P5. So the top 5 are all from different manufacturers, which is, again, really good to see. In fact, most races, there's been at least the top 3 or 4 in different cars. So that's great to see once again. Dominic Stallman, current championship leader, is in P6 with his work cut out for him and 30 kilograms of ballast holding him back in his Vega Sim car. Ollie Moss in P7, Bart Van Menikes in P8, and Charlotte might want to read out P9.
Yeah, Ian Hudson.
It's a good effort, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great effort. Great to see Ian put in a really strong qualifying performance, and that would probably lead me to believe that he actually tested in the rain this time and not the dry, and looked what the server was doing. So nice job there. Roland Stallman, the other Vega Sim driver, in P10. Curran in P11. I think Curran will probably find a bit more time as he goes through. Potentially needs a bit more testing or didn't get the opportunity, because I'd expect him to be a bit higher up in this condition, and I know he's raced at this track a bit before. Corbin for E-Team Brit also in up there in P12. Heath. So Heath in P13, not too bad. Again, I know he was not the most fond of his car and track combination this evening, so he'll be looking to move forward. Points go down to 12, so he needs one more to get in the points. Hamish also strong qualifying result in P14. Max Spooner is one of his E-Team Brit teammates in P15. Another E-Team Brit driver in P16 as well, and Tyler in 17. And then we've got Arnold Das in P18 for Attack Vector, the number 18 car. Billingham, his teammate, in P19. So we've got a few teammates near each other. So that hopefully will help people getting through the first couple corners. But we shall see.
Melvin's close at the front this time, so we're not going to get a Spa Speciale by him, are we?
Let's just not talk about it.
Yeah,
touch all the wood on the desk that you can, yeah. And then Bedoya then down in P20, Renberg P21, Phil Lima, previous driver of the day, in 22nd position on the grid, Liam Sharman 23rd in his Warbird Lamborghini, and that is a hard car around here. And then Piston Gone rounding out the grid in P24. So a few drivers missing tonight between work requirements and whatever else. It's one of the reasons that we offered the dropped round option, just to make it a little bit easier to stay in the fight for the championship wherever you're fighting for. But yeah, so there's a slightly smaller grid, but 24 cars around here in the rain is still more than enough for us to go racing and have some fun. So let us know what you think over in chat. Who's your money on? And we see Stapleton, one of the drivers actually that's not here tonight, is over on chat. So good to see you. Thank you, Harry. You sure you just didn't fancy the heat this evening? It is rather warm. So racing about to go very shortly. Drivers are just on their formation lap. Coming around about halfway on the track, aren't we?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've actually got a slightly longer warm-up section than what we see on some of the other circuits, which is good. Just gives everyone a little bit of time to kind of settle in. Almost kind of like focus, isn't it, as well? Like, you know, it's a big part of that, of just having that moment of quiet in the car before sort of 60 minutes of, I wouldn't say carnage, but action.
Pure concentration.
Yeah.
That's the thing with sim racing, like real racing. You know, there's no just chilling out for a moment and catching your breath. You are on it until that checker flag drops. Lucky you have a fairly long straight at Snetterton. That's about as close as it gets, really. But even then, you can't take your eye off the ball as they come under the bridge here. Very great section of track, isn't it, into Blundell and Nelson? Yeah.
Bit of the track.
Very technical to get right. And then, like you say, bomb hole this next right-hander at speed. There's a little bump, and actually... it is there in the game, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
You've actually done some laps, haven't you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've actually done laps on this game. It's actually the circuit where I was like, yeah, I want to get on here. Because I think, again, if you can kind of get your head around this, and it bodes well for other circuits that you might have a bit of a test on.
So, quick bit of housekeeping for you then. In the bottom left corner, you can see, of course, the drivers' names and numbers, which manufacturer of car they're in. You can also see the little number 1 in front of the orange sort of rectangle. That lets you know whether they've done their pit stop or how many pit stops they have remaining to make. So that 1 means they've, of course, not made it yet. That will happen about halfway through the race. But they're coming out of the last corner now, so they kind of really start to bunch up before they then make their final approach and the lights go out. Stuart French is in the red Aston Martin, Buckin in the white E-Team Brit car on his outside, Harry Melvin in the black and orange Mercedes, and then on the outside of him, the black and gold, is Robert Bjorkman. Behind that, we've got Mitchell in the Porsche and Stallman in the blue Aston Martin. So those are your top 6. Get ready. Lights are out, and we're off then, heading down into turn 1. Harry Melvin's got himself a good start. He's right under the bumper of French there, but it's Buckin that's literally got the run and got round the outside. In fact, tiny bit of door bumping between French and Melvin there, but they both managed to get through. Melvin out on the slippy stuff. Not going to yield just yet. French won't be looking to give up that too easy. He started on pole and has been nabbed all the way down to... P3 is going to hang on to. I just saw Mitchell getting a little bit of sideways in the background there. Let's go and check that out just for a moment. If we can drop back a couple cars, see where Mitchell ended up in that. Yeah, there's a bit of a scuffle behind them between, I can just see Arnold Das, Billingham, Ballesteros a little bit further down the field on my screen. But if we go a little bit further up, you can see then it is, if we get back up to that front little squabble, there's wow, it's all actually shaken up again. Dom Stallman's pulled himself up into that front little pack. Weirdly, the positions don't seem to be matching the drivers that correctly on the screen, so we're going to have to just keep our eyes on it. As I just see one of the E-Team Brits, I think that was Corbin, lost the rear end in the background of my screen. But let's focus then on Melvin currently hanging on to P5. You've got French trying to get back through and Bjorkman. I think it's French really that struggled the most out of this opening few corners.
It's definitely been French who lost out. It's just like he couldn't get traction at the start, and Buchan got a stonking start, and Harry actually, had he not got in, he got, you know, a perfect start away, didn't he? But he just had nowhere to go. There was nowhere to put that car.
Yeah, and I think both drivers did well to not have any major incidents there. There was a little bit of contact, but at the end of the day, on a wet track, two cars into one doesn't work. So the fact they made it, you know, that they could both get round at all was pretty good. You can see Dom Stallman coming in on the brakes there, pretty hot in that blue Vega Sim car, and then loses a little bit on the way out. So looking pretty punchy though, considering he's got that 30k, and he's made one place up already, looking to go a bit further. But Buchan is off to a flying start for this evening's race. Great to see him finally getting a chance right up at the front end of this grid, because he's been coming for a little while with his pace.
Yeah, Bjorkman as well, you know, had a really good start as well. He did well to kind of avoid the French Melvin kind of carnage that was going on around him, and just kind of keep his nose out front and manage to keep that second position. So this train of like French, Melvin, Stallman as well, this is where these guys, if they fight too much, then all of a sudden they're going to have Moss. I mean, Ian Hudson, right, credit where it's due. Ian is super new to this race, and we know that he's been spending a lot of time on it, or I know because my dad talks to him around it. So really nice to see, because that was not an easy starting position for him to be in. P9, he had Roland Stallman, who's got loads of experience behind him. He had Heath as well, and actually he's kind of managed, touch wood so far, to just keep his nose clean, and he's actually chipped away and, you know, made a couple of spaces up as well. So couldn't have really gone any better for him for the opening lap there. He's probably chuffed with that. Let's hope he doesn't forget to put fuel in his car or the pit stop, and then we'll be all right. We'll make progress each race with him.
That's it, called it out again. I was just looking at, we're running on board with Stuart French in his Red Shell racing car, and you've got Harry all over the back. He's been trying to make a move for the last couple laps of this 3 laps we've done so far, and can't quite make it work. But now Harry's coming under pressure from Stallman in the blue Aston Martin for Vegas Sim, just that next car back that you can see from the camera car. So all getting pretty close between this front pack. Buchan all the while is just stretching his legs a little bit to a 3.6 second lead as it stands. Bjorkman will be trying to hunt that down, but doesn't really have an answer at the moment in the Audi. And French is catching him as well. So the top sort of 3 or 4 all catching each other a little bit.
And actually, if we go on a slightly higher camera angle, Ben, if we can, you can see that second pack as such of like sort of 3-4 cars is starting to if they just keep their head down, they're going to be on to the next group of people. So yeah, you can see Stallman there's already got Moss actually approaching in the McLaren, you know, at a good old pace. So we'll keep an eye on that to see what happens. Is it worth us checking in further down the grid though, just to see what happened to Heath?
Yeah, so where is Heath running?
P13.
So still P13.
So not too much movement happened there.
There was an incident I saw between, not necessarily Billingham and Arnoldas, but I saw them certainly in a scuffle in one of the E-Team Brit cars, just at a glimpse on another camera. So again, if the guys can let us know about that in the background. So Mitchell and Moss had a bit of a collision apparently, and it just spun Mitchell round. And that was enough to cause that little bit of chaos between those drivers. Cool. And it looks like French is catching up to Bjorkman as well, a little bit further back up. So you can see Heath has made his way into points, and he's now chasing down Hudson. But if we get ourselves back up to the top 3,
so we can see that. There we go. French, because he's looking to make the move, and actually Harry's all over the back of him going. It's not an easy area to try and overtake going through bomb hole.
Bomb hole into Coram, that long right.
French is fast through there.
Yeah, the Aston's pretty good through those types of corners.
That you can see that's Bjorkman's weak spot.
That snappy Audi.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to be able to latch onto him going down Bentley Straight, just get under that bridge and get beat him on the brakes. And I think that won't be a case of just French going through. I think that could be Melvin as well if he doesn't close the door early enough. So it'll be the train.
I mean, fantastic driving by these guys so far. I can see Max Spooner up ahead's just either just about to or just let Buchan come through. Must have been the E-Team Brit driver that got caught up in that earlier scuffle. But yeah, currently then your order as it runs is Buchan, number 666 in the lead. Bjorkman P2, the Swedish driver, followed by French in our red Aston Martin. That we've, in fact, Bjorkman has really been roped in quite a lot there, hasn't he? Once again, they're getting close. Out of these drivers, it's Bjorkman that's got 10 kilograms of success ballast, so he's got a little bit of a hindrance there. And then further back, Dominic Stallman in that blue Aston Martin has also got ballast, but he's got 30 kilograms. So that will potentially be a bit harder as the race goes on. It's not as bad in the rain, but it will just take its life out of your tyres that little bit faster, having a heavier car. And of course, you have to brake a bit earlier, be a bit more tentative with the power, and really just be careful. But I have to say, given that there is going to be some spray involved, slippery track conditions, they're doing a good job.
So let's just keep an eye down here. Yeah, and you can see French is looking, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or Bjorkman just shuts the door off.
Going into Brundle there, under the bridge, flicks right into Nelson. And this is where we know, as you say, French is quite strong now through Bombhole and then Coram. So, well, in fact, actually, he lost a little bit coming out of Nelson that lap.
Harry's looking a little bit.
And now Harry's going to have a look. I mean, it's not a fun place to try and overtake or worry about being overtaken. You can see that Merc. The back end is just floating around the last part of the Coram curve. I mean, I dare take our eyes off of this front pack. I should mention that Piston has gone from the opening lap, and some of those incidents must have left the race, so he's no longer with us. But Pack here at the front, doing a really sterling job so far. So Buckin has now just cleared Spooner after that earlier incident. So Spooner was one of the ones that got caught up with Arnold Dass and Billingham with that earlier incident with Moss catching Mitchell. Where did Mitchell end up, actually? Let's have a little look. Down in 17th. It's a shame. I've seen him have a few incidents that, not necessarily his fault and just bad luck. So hopefully he gets a result by the end of this season, because he was right up in the sharp end of this pack. Or would have been sort of around the Moss Hudson sort of area of this, if not higher up. And then Hudson is still in P11, so he's still in points. He's dropped back to P13. If you just bring the standings up on the screen briefly, so anyone watching can see, then you can have a quick look and glance to see where the pack stands at the moment. But yeah, still Bucking out front as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, just while we've got that up on the screen and we've got a moment to breathe, although I've said we're watching French on the other screen looking like he's trying to make a move again. Warren has asked who decides what the weather is going to be over on YouTube. So yeah, there were some discussions around this in the Discord chat after Spa, wasn't there? So
yeah, it's a bit of a process really. So what happens is Ben Meikle has to get dressed up in a chicken costume and goes and stands out in the garden and pretends to be a weather vane, and we all stand there with different flavors of Monster and in a circle, and whichever can of Monster he goes for helps determine whether, so if it's a blue can, it's rain, if it's red, it's sun, and so on.
Did you got the proper answer now?
Proper answer is whoever wants it. In fact, Warren, in proper answer to your question, is quite often it's Kirk at the moment. He just goes in and sets the server up and we're like, okay, guess it's raining then. But we do usually discuss it as admins of the server and the league. So yeah, we try and plan it out so that we have a bit of a mix. But it is dynamic, so it can change. You just set kind of the extreme one way and the extreme the other that you want to allow, and then it stays within those parameters. So it could have actually been dry tonight, but just very cold and a little bit damp. But as it happens, it's raining. Yeah,
so sorry, just to interrupt there, we're going to see that we're going to start to come onto the infield section of the circuit now. And this train of 4 cars, you're going to see blue flags coming out for Max Spooner. Now, he technically could try and unlap himself, couldn't he, with what's going on. So this is going to be a bit of a challenging one for them. Stallman, I don't know if you noticed it in the background, he was looking like he was starting to get a bit impatient. He doesn't like getting held up, does he? No one does, but Stallman's very quick. Like, he knows when to make a move and he sticks to it and he goes, and 9 times out of 10 it pulls off, and you could see him starting to get impatient there. So this is where Max is going to have to manage this carefully, not to affect or hinder his own race too much. But
I think what would be good if just for a moment we drop down and have a look at Heath and Billingham just to check out that battle. We'll keep another camera on the main battle at the front just to see, unless that's already played itself out. And you can see Heath is catching on Billingham at the moment, as again they're still dicing at the front. got to pick and choose where we put this camera at the moment. So we'll try and keep an eye on both. But yeah, that battle's also happening at the moment, and that's for 12th position, which is the last points place. But let's jump back to the front because they're just about to catch the back marker with French Bjorkman coming up on that white and blue E-Team Brit car, who actually gets out of the way quite nicely there.
Yeah.
Harry probably has to go a bit tighter, and you can see touches the curb, which I actually was a little bit nervous watching, to be honest with you, because that can really unsettle things. And French having to go a bit more defensive. Stallman then potentially gets his nose in, but he knows better than to leave it there too long and gives Harry the space he needs just to get round.
Stick to that.
I thought he was going to stick, but he knows too well, I think. You know, very experienced driver, and that's the difference between the drivers that we have these incidents that could have been avoided and not. And as it stands, they're now still all in the race. And I'm just waiting for Harry to do the complete opposite there with French, but luckily gets it through.
Can we just have a look, if you can just pull up the timing screen again? I just want to see how, so Bjorkman, they're 7 seconds off of Ken at the moment.
I mean, he's lapping fast.
Yeah.
Oh, God, get back. I mean, I'll tell you what, can we ride on Harry's bonnet? Let's sit on Harry's bonnet for a minute, because
Harry's got pure pace, hasn't he? But it's not comfortable pace. You can see that in the way that the car's behaving.
Just take note of that logo on the bonnet there. Lovely.
Oh, I had to look at it. I can't see my eyes.
It was right on the back of French, and you can start to get a bit of an idea of the track conditions. So, as a driver, you're looking for those drier sections at this point in time. So you can see, if you look at the surface, there's the bits with more surface water. And again, it's so good that the game simulates that type of stuff. Because of course, the more water the tyres have to clear, the slipperier it is, and the more work they're doing.
Also, that white line on the inside. So you could see it. Harry got very, very close, and French got very close to that white line on the inside. They're going through.
Carried a lot of speed here out of the final corner. You can get a little bit of a slipstream. One thing that's a little tip for giving you from the real world is people hug that pit wall, and it helps create a little bit of a ground effect, I guess, off of the wall, and you get a bit of a slipstream.
Do you know who taught me that tip?
Who?
Gary Paffett.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's late on the brakes. I don't think Harry even intended to go in that late. Somehow gets it stopped. I bet French was the nervous there.
Sorry, you could just see in the rear mirror of what we can see on our screen that actually hurt Stallman a little bit there. Stallman had to get the car stopped even more than maybe what he was intended to do so.
Yeah. I mean, it's moments away from problems. You can see in the background there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Aston's a lighter car than the Mercedes, so and I have this because I spend a lot of time in the AMG on this sim, and you do find you're braking earlier than most other cars. There's a small mistake, a little bit too much curb there, costs Harry. You can see just bounces a bit wider. Now look, that's brought him back from French and into the clutches of Dom Stallman, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dom Stallman in that blue Aston starts to think about having a lunge fairly soon, although gets a slightly better exit there onto the back straight, heading down into Brundle under the bridge. All pretty close for this second place on the podium at the moment, isn't it? And we're 45 minutes to go, so we're 15 minutes in already. So a quarter of the way through. Before you know it, it'll be pit stops, and that's always something that could trip people up. As you can see, track dips down at bomb hole and the car goes light, and it's very unnerving, and you have to kind of have the confidence to know it'll grip up again and keep your speed up, don't you?
I love this track. When I watch it, I just think it's a good circuit.
Second longest track on the calendar in the UK as well. Silverstone's the only one longer. So,
yeah, let's just take a little look at the overall standings again and just have a look to see where some battles are forming, if we can pull that main screen up. So,
yeah. So how's Heath getting on with Billingham? Still about a second. Heath's right on the back of Billingham.
Yeah,
let's take a quick look at that. Again, we'll stay on the front camera with commentary and keep an eye on that for you all. And if our race director can drop down and see how Heath's getting on there in the BMW. So he was right on the back of Billingham at the last sort of checkpoint. He updates every quarter. In fact, they're both onto the back of Hudson. Saw Billingham looking very close on the way in, so I'm a bit nervous to see what happens with that. So you can see Hudson in the McLaren at the front of that little pack, then the black McLaren with the skull and crossbones on the front. Team Bilco Racing. Attack Vector in the orange and blue Bentley, and then Heath in the West Midlands Racing machine up here in the BMW. So again, nice mix of manufacturers out racing this evening, which is always good to see. And this actually, you're seeing very different strengths to different cars at Snetterton, aren't you? Because you've got fast flowing corners, you've got very long corners, and you've got tight, twisty hairpins. So you've got a bit of everything for everyone to enjoy around this track. Hence why it's probably quite level across most of them. Yeah, any other questions? Keep firing them in. If you want us to show a certain driver, get my words out, then please let us know. We can try and ride on board and see what's going on. It's looking like it's settling down a tad at that front battle, but yeah, any moment now, I think this one's going to heat up as well. Everyone's playing it very cool so far, aren't they? You know, no one's going for anything too crazy, which is exactly how it should be in the first quarter of the race. As I say that, a yellow flag just came out somewhere briefly. I wonder if we could catch that. Not seeing anything obvious on the screen. It's all cleared again, so whatever that was, it must have been a small blip somewhere in the background.
Yeah, I can just keep an eye on both screens here as well. We can see that Matt Spooner, so car number 23, that Team Ebert, he's had the blue flags waved at him quite a few times now because he's currently ahead of Ollie Moss in the McLaren. See what happens there, because that's quite a few corners now where those blues have been waved at him.
See Billingham having another look on the inside, then going into turn one, but doesn't make anything happen this time. Ian's going a little bit defensive on the way out. I think he's going to give them the line on the way. In fact, Ian goes defensive into the hairpin as well. Very nicely defended by Hudson there. And in fact, that's now brought Heath into contention as well.
Oh, and it's very close contact between Heath and, I can't see,
Tyler. I think that might have been number 445 in the Aston. A re-team Brit driver there. I mean, Ian's really holding them off quite nicely. So Billingham again looking on. Oh, and that time there was contact. Oh. I mean, that was getting too close for too long there, wasn't it? One car going very defensive and one car attacking quite hard. We'll try and get a replay of that to see it again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if someone's got defensive, the line's not there, is there, to go for, because it's been closed.
And in fact, Billingham then loses the rear end a few corners later, which will allow Hudson to come back through. I mean, we offer a gentleman's rule about giving cars back space. I don't think that was intentional, but ultimately he's now given him that space back. So that is one small consolation for Hudson. Was having a great race. He's now just one place out of points. In fact, that'll update. No, it is P15 then currently at the moment. In fact, looking to go again. I mean, that pack did have more pace, so it was a hard one, wasn't it? In fact, Ian's now struggling a little bit, isn't he? Yeah, potentially got damage. You can see he just pulled off in the background. We'll find out a bit more about that one, see what happens. Potentially going to drop out, but we'll see what happens if he returns to pit or not. Meanwhile, then, Balestros having a little battle with Mitchell in P12 and 13, but we're looking at Heath up into P11 now after that little incident.
Yeah, we're getting George in the background to look at the Ian and Billingham incident. That's a shame. Well,
I just had a whoa.
Heath was a bit of a winner out of that one, so he's quite comfortably in P11 at the moment, isn't he? Just looking between the two screens, and he's got Mitchell just behind him, but a nice sort of gap there, so he can actually now just start to push on and try and crack on and get onto the back of Bedora and just start to chip away at this now. Meanwhile, this battle at the front has just not changed.
I know. It's very close again. It's very, very close again. If we jump back to French and Bjorkman, well, French actually, definitely. Harry just lost the rear end a little bit and loses the place to Dom Stallman. I mean, how he held onto that, I don't know. That would have been some serious opposite lock.
It's still got the inside line.
Trying to see. Yeah, no, he gets it back.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, I only saw a glimpse of it in the back end of the camera shot, but that looked like a really scary moment for Melvin there, the InGear Motorsport car. But now Bjorkman still, you can just see it's just moving over enough, just in case French gets any clever ideas. Yeah, so I mean, so far not too many incidents, which is good, but certainly a couple that I think are being looked at in the background. That Billingham and Hudson one for sure. I mean, Heath was right on the back of that pack as well. He would have had a driver's eye view of that one happening in front of him. So we've got a few people to talk about after.
It's really good as well when we're reviewing accidents. You know, it's not just a one-person decision. There's a few of us that are sat there looking at it from different angles, different perspectives on it. But he's always someone that's like really fair, isn't he? In the sense of like quite cool and calm and collected in the way that he view things. So yeah, and that's a shame. So Ian's now dropped out of the race as a result of that. So I'm sure my dad will be on the phone to him. Hint, hint, if you're watching, because I know you are, because I'm WhatsApping mum at the same time, to see what happened there. That's an absolute bummer for him, you know. Qualifying position by country mile over all the races. Some really good progress there. And yeah, we'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. Bit of a shame, that one. I mean, we always say as well that we're trying to promote a league for drivers of all experience levels to try and, you know, come and race. So I think we get pretty lucky with the instance that we, you know, or the lack of, for the most part. I know Billingham was fairly new to sim racing, and that just really showed there with that move, because went for the inside when there wasn't really a gap there. It was very late and just caught the rear quarter of Hudson. I mean, as you say, there's no real, no one's trying to do that, as we see Melvin all over the curb again there, sliding around. But it looks like French is closer than ever to Bjorkman up ahead then. So Bjorkman in the Audi, French in the red Aston. Previously the pole man, don't forget. So French was the fastest man around this track in qualifying, and got kind of, for want of a better word, pretty mugged at the start, didn't he? Dropped down to P4 and had to fight his way back through. So having, you know, he's doing a good job of that, back into P3, potentially P2 if he can get this move done.
I mean, if I was currently having to vote for driver of the day, it'd be Bjorkman.
With that 30k,
yeah,
10k.
Yeah, he's running extra ballast. He's in that horrible position of having a train of 3 of them, of which are all very, very quick drivers behind him. Don't want to jinx it too much, but he, you know, he's doing what he needs to do, isn't he? Because he's still pushing on as well. He's not bunching he's driving defensively, but in a way that's still pushing on. If you just throw the time board up for me, can we see how far away he is from Buchan at the moment?
11 seconds.
11 seconds
yeah.
out. He's just got it
done. And I think that just shows where these guys are having to think about what the other cars are doing around them. It can slow you down because, you know, you're having to go a little bit defensive, keep an eye on your mirrors. You're just giving up that little bit of kind of brain power to what's going on around you in the battle, as opposed to just putting the laps in. Whereas Buchan got a clear road ahead of him, no spray, no other cars, bar the odd one to lap, and is just putting the laps in consistently, not making mistakes. And yeah, he's eked out that nearly 12-second lead over the rest of the pack. Cool. So I think we've just about got time to play a replay of that incident again with Billingham and Hudson. So we'll get that on for you at the moment. So Billingham in the orange and blue, coming up the inside of Hudson. You can see they're going into the hairpin and just doesn't get it stopped anywhere near quick enough. You know, straight into that rear quarter of him, yeah. I mean, I wonder if he just missed his braking marker by how much faster he went in. He just left himself nowhere to go, didn't he? You can see as you saw the onboard there. There wasn't enough of a gap really to go up the inside, so...
Just replay it again.
Just watching it back again in commentary. Yeah, just didn't get it stopped. So if you didn't catch that, pit window is open now. That means the drivers can make their one mandatory pit stop during this race.
Yeah, if you look where the brake was actually hit, that was...
I think he's just completely missed his braking marker. Yeah. So that's the sort of thing that we can talk about after the race. But yeah, unfortunately, like you say, for Hudson, well, we'll focus on the rest of the race that we've got now. And again, this battle between the front, particularly for P2, is just getting hotter and hotter all the time. So currently then, your race leader, Martin Buchan, out front for E-Team Brit, followed by Bjorkman in P2 in the Audi for the Spearhead Race Engineering team. current championship leaders, I think, as well. And then French in P3, Melvin in P4, Stallman in P5, Moss in P6. Much better wet weather performance from Moss this time round. Roland is in P7, which is also a good effort by Hinks. I know he's not as happy in the wet weather as French comes into the pits, and then on lap 16 of this, lap 13 of this race. Interesting then, that's the first of the pit stops starting to be made now. You've only got a 10-minute window to make your pit stop, and in a lap that's 2 minutes long, you've got to make sure you time that right, because if it reaches 0 and you're out.
Smart by French. Just dive in straight away.
Get out of the way of the chaos.
Yeah, get out of the way of chaos.
Let's watch him feed back in.
Trying consistently to get past Bjorkman, and it's like, no, come in, splash and dash. He's now kind of in relatively clean air in terms of who he's actually racing against. So yeah, I think that was a smart move. So let's head back up to further up the grid for me. I know Ben's a little bit busy in the background as I say that, but let's have a look just to see, has anyone else made the move? So Bjorkman, Melvin, Stallman.
Yeah, so still just French for the moment. What you want to keep your eyes open for is when these front 2, 3, 4, well, second, third, fourth pit, do they come out ahead of French or behind French? It'll all depend on who got the pit stops better, because these guys are tenths apart. So if you mess your pit stop up by a couple of seconds, that might not sound like much, but that is, in this case, 3 or 4 places further down in the running order. So you have to make sure you get those things right. So easy in the sort of heat of the moment, doing all your testing beforehand, to forget to practice coming into the pits and out of the pits, because that is a separate bit of tarmac that you don't drive on for very long, but you do need to make sure you get it right, because before the line you can go as fast as you want, and after the line you can go as fast as you want whilst rejoining and exiting the track. So you need to really practice that as well. That's, again, something the faster drivers doing. We just heard that French has actually spun in the background. We'll potentially see if we can catch that. I'm not sure. So yeah, he's on the pit straight at the moment, but did recover. He is going again, but he had a bit of a moment there. So that's going to cost French a couple places for running in P3. See if it's 1 place or 2. But yeah, the other guys then will be able to make one up. And Harry was really trying to get past for a while, wasn't he? But still, Harry and Bjorkman, having that battle. Just a quick notice as well of Bart there in P7. You can see on your screens. Great race for him last time, coming P2 on the podium. Sorry, P3. No, it was P2. I had it right the first time. Losing the plot today. It's been a long day. See that Hamish Eason has made his pit stop. Liam Sharman in his Warbirds made his pit stop at the moment. Who else? Corbin, Mitchell. Renberg hasn't. Let's take a little look at Renberg, shall we? We haven't seen, because he's about to have a little battle with Mitchell, actually. We haven't seen much of him for this race so far. The Audi is a tricky car, I always find. Just that sort of mid-engine setup it has and the general nature of the car, it's pretty snappy, particularly in the rain. So Bjorkman's just pitted with Hurd, and Melvin has opted to stay out. So we will pick that up in a moment when Bjorkman's on his way out, but we'll give it just a sec. These two were looking quite close between the Audi and the Porsche, both Spearhead race engineering cars. We do allow drivers to use different cars in their teams. They just can't change car from race to race unless your name's Liam Sharman. Moss also pitted then. So let's go find Bjorkman, shall we, and see where he filters back in, because that's going to be interesting to see. And we've had a driver of the day vote bang on time for half race distance as well. So that comes from Martin. Good to see you chat again, Martin.
A bit earlier, but I
I've just spotted it now.
Didn't point it out until it was
How's it going, Martin? You all good? Is Phil paying you to come on and do these driver of the day votes, or doing it out of the kindness of your heart? I wonder if we're going to see the rest of the crew coming in again. So that is a good point then. Driver of the day votes are now open, so you can vote for your favourite driver. All you have to do is type their name in the chat wherever you're watching. And then Charlotte and I'll keep a tally of them. Went a bit mental last time with Phil Lima and a few other of the E-Team Brit drivers, I think it was.
Running out of post-it notes.
Yeah, that's it. So Bjorkman fed back into P6, but then there is still, you can see a couple of cars ahead, including Roland Stallman and Bart that haven't pitted yet. So that will equal itself out. This is always that interesting part of the race when you get to see who kind of gets the best of the pit stops and who struggles of the cars that are out there. And actually, French has lost out so much time that he's now having a battle with Moss for P7, which you can see in the background of that camera angle. So if we drop back a couple on the stream there, you're going to catch the end of that. That's Moss on the inside in the West Midlands McLaren. Which goes to turn in and just gets a bit of a door panel from Moss there and just rejoins the track again. And gets to live to fight another day. Yeah, I think that was the right thing. Yeah.
I was going to say, that's a move going on the outside, going into that corner.
Was it French trying to overtake Moss or Moss trying to overtake French?
French trying to overtake Moss on the outside, going under the bridge, going through Nelson.
All right, well, that
never gonna happen.
That bit of contact was kind of well due for then. If he's on the outside there, you kind of weigh up that risk if you're going to try and do that. Seen people do it, but yeah, in a wet race, that's a brave move. Luckily, still here to fight another day after that and gets it going again.
This is the good thing about these 16-minute races as well. Like, it can kind of settle down. You might have a quiet couple of laps, which so far we haven't, and we've only got 27 minutes to go. But yeah, anything can happen at any point because this is where a bit of fatigue kicks in, you know.
Just seeing then, so we've got French and Moss here fighting for 5th, 6 tenths between them. Up the road from that is Bjorkman in the Audi for Spearhead in P4. Melvin is now up into P3 after pit stops have concluded. So that's quite a nice little touch for Melvin. He's jumped 2 places.
Don Stallman hasn't pitted yet. And we've literally... Nor has Buchan, and we've literally got a minute left, so they have got to come in.
Yeah, that is a good spot.
Where they are on the circuit.
So race leader's just gone into the pits then. Just a few cars up ahead. Let's catch that and see where he comes out of the pits and how long he is in the pits. So number 666, race leader in the pit lane for E-Team Brit. I mean, we've not given him much camera time so far. That was definitely a nice clean splash and dash. And then just behind him, Stallman makes it with 56 seconds left in the pit window.
He's usually the king of the undercut as well, isn't he? So
yeah, he does like the undercut, but potentially an overcut on this occasion. We'll just have to see, won't we? The drivers can adjust some minor things on the setup, basically tyre pressures when they come in, but that's if they change tyres, which most of them don't do because it takes too long. But in a wet race, that's not too big a deal.
So should we just drop back and just see where Stallman's come onto the circuit? Because he's the one that's actually... But we know Buchan's out, so he's all good kind of thing. So Stallman's come out in...
He's done it. He's jumped ahead of Moss and... Well, he was ahead of Moss anyway. He's jumped ahead of French. Although I would actually say he's lost time. So I say he's done it. He's actually just not done it quite. So if you think of the incidents French has had running off the track...
Yeah. French is fast though, isn't he? So Harry has actually been the winner out of this.
Yeah, up into P2 now.
Yeah, because he was behind he was behind French, he was behind Bjorkman, and he's actually jumped both of them, come out in P2. Like you say, that spin that French had, it hurt him nowhere near as bad as what it could have, but it's definitely hurt him a little bit. He needs to get past Moss, doesn't he? Moss was actually clinging on to the back of this front running group the whole way, but just couldn't find any more time to rein them in. We know he's we know he's quick as well. So,
yeah, Moss is a driver that takes no prisoners as well. I mean, just like we saw, French went for the outside line on him into Brundle, and just Moss had none of it and left French nowhere to go. As you do if someone's on your outside at that point of the track in many cases. But it looks like that's potentially about to happen again, although this time French opts for the inside line. Let's see if he can make it stick as they go under the bridge. No, backs out of it once again. This time thinks better of it.
This circuit's hard to overtake. I know you've got clear traditional hairpins, which are you know, perceived or look like they're easy to overtake on, but they're actually not, because they're long hairpins each corner as well.
Yeah, and there's not, you know, the longest of straights before it, is there? To kind of get that draft and up the inside, yeah. So it does make it tricky to get across and then get the car stopped up the inside quicker. So this little battle between Moss and French is costing him time, like Charlotte said, because now Stallman is starting to break away in P4. And of course, Stallman is, you know, fighting for that championship. So those extra couple points over French, who is right in the sharp end of the series as well. You know, French needs those points as much as Dom Stallman does, because when it comes to drop scores, French is going to be right in there at the moment, along with Bjorkman and Dom Stallman. Lots of drivers we need to try and check out at some point, but there's just constantly action wherever we look. So Melvin's broke himself away a little bit from Bjorkman. So 1, 2, and 3 are all looking pretty tasty at the moment. So it's now a battle for P4 rather than a battle for P2 that it was just a few laps ago. But as you say, we're 22 minutes left on the clock, nearly, and still there's close bits of action happening across the field. Looking a bit further down, Billingham is nearly onto the back of Renberg. Mitchell looks like he's he's up into P10. That's good to see. That's a good comeback drive from Mitchell as well. Just looking down the order. In fact, if we just briefly, while watching this, bring the standings up for everyone to have a look at, then you can see who's where and get a bit of an idea what's going on as we approach lap 19 here at Snetterton for round 5 tonight. And a very wet Snetterton at that. Although not as wet as Donington a few rounds ago.
I love that.
It was yeah, pretty special to watch. Probably not so special to try and drive. But yeah, this has been brilliant from start to finish as well. We've lost 4 or 5 drivers since the start of the race. So for wet conditions, that's not too bad for an online game or sim racing game, because you often find, particularly in public lobbies, people just drop off within a couple of laps if it doesn't go their way. So well done to everyone that's sticking it out, putting the laps in. You can see the likes of Mitchell, who got spun around early on in the race, have stuck with it. He's back into P10 and back into points, which is good. It's Heath who's the first man out of points at the moment in P13. I know he was struggling with that BMW, as French is looking on the outside here at Moss going into the hairpin. Not able to do anything with it that time, but he is definitely trying, isn't he? And Stallman's not really getting that far ahead, but we must remember that blue Aston Martin of Dom Stallman has got 30 kilograms of success ballast weighing him down. So depending how things work, if he has none for the next race, which is currently how it would be, does really well, he'd then have ballast going into the last race. So there is that to think about as well, which is a 2-hour event. 2 hours of Donington for the last race, yeah. Charlotte's thinking, oh, we've got to sit on live stream for 2 hours?
Get ready.
Ben's going to have at least 2 cans of Monster during the live stream. 3, he just said in my ear, yeah. Not sure how George will be doing over there. Made it on like a real trooper tonight after not feeling all that good. Although he's gone very quiet though. Not had any tips in the ear for a while. I'm sure he's there. Yeah, he's there.
Oh yeah.
There's some of his typical humour in there. Just scrolling through your Discord to see all the messages.
No, I just had complete and utter brain fade. I think you probably just said where the next round was as well, but it's just not processing.
Alton Park next, yeah.
They're in 3 weeks. No, September. At Thruxton tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not in this game, Thruxton.
Yeah. So.
Fast track that. Have you raced at Thruxton?
No.
One of the few I haven't raced at.
A few UK ones that I haven't, yeah.
Oh, that was close. That was close. Now, these two have had some battles before, haven't they? Do you remember Silverstone, that last couple laps?
Yeah. And we've seen maybe a couple of moves that are a bit too far in the reach. We're trying to be PC the way I kind of say it by Ollie. So Ollie does look like, though, he's just got some pace out of somewhere. He almost looks like he's wanting to push Stallman back as he gives Stallman a little flash there.
Goes a little bit wide, it's clear.
Do you know what? This is one of my things with this. When drivers do this whole flash their lights thing, what do they think it's going to do? Ask the driver to move out of the way. It's not the M25.
Trying to put them off, I guess.
He's trying to put them off. Actually, he's put himself off.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Nearly loses it. Now you know what that was, don't you?
What?
That was paying for the mistake not once but twice. See, he had one little mistake and then it led him into the next one.
Yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker. That one. It's true facts. Got to watch out for those. They'll get you.
What, flashing their lights? Or...
Well, just one. But they're still flashing the lights anyway.
Still flash lights. By the way, everyone, get out.
They're just flashing the lights for the sake of it now. It's like he can hear you. Would surprise me if he's got us on in the stream in the background again. See if he does it.
Yeah.
See if he does it going down the straight. If you flash your lights again on the main straight, Ollie, then I know that you can hear us. In fact, stay right close to the pit wall and flash your lights. Yeah, let's do it. I think that means he can hear. Yeah, look, that means he can hear us. Either that or he's just flashing his lights for the sake of it. Yeah, very good. Right, let's not put him off too much then, if that is the case.
Get the hammer down.
I love it. I mean, that's an interesting way to keep tabs of what's going on in the race, actually, isn't it? If that is the case.
Oh, what, listening to us? I thought you meant by flashing your lights there. I was like, what's that got to do with that? Oh, dear.
So then, let's just keep an eye. So Dom still has French looming in the background. We know French has got the pace of the two. So I wouldn't be surprised in the closing stages, if not sooner. French is right on the back of Dom again, trying to get through. Should we spend a lap with Buchan?
I think Ollie will get to the back of French before too long, because he was literally pushing Stallman out of the corners. Like, it was like he just found like a couple of attempts out of nowhere. So we'll keep an eye on that.
We shall see. We shall see. There's a few things yet to develop, isn't there?
Yeah.
In that mid pack as well. What have we got? We've got Renberg and Billingham still very close together to keep an eye on as well for P15. Heath, if he can get himself up to Balestros. I mean, he's a lap down at the minute, so something must have happened to Heath for that to happen. Let's sit on board with Buchan then as we start a lap here of the Snetterton Circuit. Heading down into turn 1 then of Riches and then into the Wilson hairpin. Double apex right-hander. Always important that you get the first apex and then the second one will come as you go around that corner into a tight braking zone of the hairpin. As we say, there's not a long amount of straight though to build up any real momentum to try and overtake, which is why it's so tricky. You'd normally hook a left there onto the older circuits, but we've got the new infield section that these cars use around here and most of the main championships do now. Fast long left-hander, then we come down into another tight hairpin, which is probably the best opportunity to overtake, but again, it's still not quite enough, like Charlotte says.
It's super long.
And then we go into the fast left of Hamilton, which is quite a cool corner tyre wall that you brush if you dare. It would normally be there, but you can actually see it's a bit further over on the left because someone's clumped it way earlier on in the race anyway.
That's always good though, get like the poles out of the way.
Yeah, that's it. Take them all out of the way early on. And then through Oggies onto the back straight as we begin our way down into Brundle and Nelson under the bridge here. Brings it over to the right gently, looking nice and settled. I mean, it's a really good effort by him so far, isn't it? As I say, we haven't really shown him on board that much, but getting it done so far. In fact, the car looks really planted through there, didn't it? That looks good. Through bomb hold also requires being a bit brave through here. I mean, he's got no qualms about running out onto some of that extra bit of runoff, has he? You can see there's a car off on the left-hand side over there. I think that was Heath. Yeah, it was. Kirk's gone for a little adventure onto the grass.
Down, because it is downhill a tiny little bit. You're carrying so much momentum. You need to know when to almost back off to gain. And
your car is loaded up one way because you're turning right. You've got to suddenly brake, haven't you? Yeah, it's a really tricky one.
It's a very rewarding corner though.
I think that's what I like about it as well. Is if you get it right, you know, it's very easy for others to get it wrong, and you get it right, and you gain a load of time on one lap. You can see very consistent. Then he's only within a couple. He's within a couple tenths of his best lap. As he went through there, he's now actually a tenth and a half up on this lap. So Buchan doing a nice job just pumping in those lap times. Melvin is 11 seconds back, 11 and a half or so. You can see in the bottom left, kind of what the intervals are as it updates, depending on what screen we're looking at. So actually, looking at the lap times then, we've got Buckin who's done a 51.7, currently doing 51.9, 51.8. If we then jump back one to Melvin, let's have a little look. Somewhere he is doing 51.8, so he's taken a 10th out of Buckin in that last lap, but he's going to need to do a lot more than that if he wants to get himself up for the win of this race. But it does mean that Melvin is certainly on pace, with, you know, considering I don't think he tested until this evening, which is something he's pretty good at.
And he's got really bad hay fever.
And he's got a bad hay fever. Anything to do with a H with Harry, hangovers or hay fever, and he'll find the lap time. Apparently, all it takes.
Well, it's just making me rub my eyes now.
Don't think about it.
No.
So, driver of the day votes then. It's 1 vote for Phil Lima at the moment. We're not plugging that enough yet. We need to try and gear one up. Let us know. Come on, who do you want to vote for? Who is your driver of the day?
Yeah, so Heath just got out of the way nicely there for Melvin, just to kind of let him through, not cause any dramas, and both kind of continue with their race. He's a little bit out of place, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that car on this track's just not a combination
he's
gelled with at all.
It's too big, isn't it? It's not quite, albeit that this is kind of what is perceived to be quite a fast track that would get on with quite a heavy car. It's actually quite a nimble circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, mostly because of how narrow it is. You know, Silverstone's, you know, a lot wider than this. So if you actually look at the width of the track, it gets very twisty here, and it's just the BMW is quite a big, heavy car. I'm surprised the AMG's got the pace that it has around here, but it just seems to work pretty well. Not the best car, but certainly up there. It's the smaller, lighter ones that benefit. So the Lexus, the Aston, in particular, do a pretty good job. The Aston's a great all-rounder for British tracks. Just noticing French did actually get that move done on Stallman down for P4. So French back up into P4 a little bit further back. Where's Dom? He's actually 1.7 seconds behind, just looking at the timing screen. And then Moss is 1 second behind that. So that sort of 4th, 5th, 6th battle has kind of fizzled out a little bit. But yeah, in fact, as we get to the closing stages, drivers just starting to fan out that little bit. But the thing is, you know, you drop a wheel off on a track or hit a curb, or Melvin just flicking the back end out like it was nothing then on another camera. You can see Moss then coming under pressure from I'm not sure actually, that looked like Bjorkman, but that looked like the wrong way round. Just wait and see as they come through. Oh no, he was going through to Lap Rendog. That's what that was. I saw the Audi and the Spearhead livery, and I wondered what was going on for a second there. Oh, Dom Stallman's off the track. You can see that blue Aston Martin just went wide there coming out of bomb hole, and has let Ollie Moss get through up into 5th place. That will be now. So little rare mistake from Dom Stallman there. Just takes him slightly wide. There is some traffic out on the track. I wonder if that had anything to do with it, but for the most part, not too sure they were close enough for it to have mattered. You know, we'll have to see. Again, we've got George in the background. He can double check that one, but I think that was just an error from Stallman. We're on lap 26, 10 minutes to go, and yeah, that's just shaking things up. And Moss is having a good race actually, because again, as I say, as he once ride there, can he get this back on and stop it in time? I tell you what, that was well held.
Done. Yeah,
it's well held.
Done.
That is not a nice place to be on the grass in this rain. And he kept the power on, didn't he? I mean, quite often the best thing to do is just keep the momentum going. We just had a driver of the day vote for Ian Hudson for his best qualifying performance yet until that incident took him out of the race earlier on. So that's 1 for Hudson and 1 for Phil Lima at the moment. So we need an extra vote for one of them to get the driver of the day point, or we need some votes for someone else. Let's keep an eye as well and see if there's any others pouring in anywhere. We've actually lost Lima in this race at the moment. Oh no, he's 3 laps down. He's on the board. Maybe he's in the pits. Yeah, he's in the pits. Oh, Moss has just lost the rear end of his McLaren, and I don't know what caused that, if I'm honest with you. I just looked away for a second, looked back, and Moss is facing the wrong way. Still hanging on to P6. You've got Renberg there rejoining. Don't know if that was anything to do with unlapping himself. He's lost one place out of that, giving Stallman his 5th place back. Again, we'll be able to have a look at that in the background, all the guys will, and see what happened. But that was not ideal for Ollie Moss then, whatever just happened there. Currently now behind Hamish Eisner coming through to lap him. So hopefully Hamish gets out of the way. I mean, again, just touching the grass. He's had a few very close calls, and then finally something just got him there, whatever that was. Meanwhile, I'm trying to keep an eye out for any driver of the day votes as we go through.
I'm just having a little look at socials. I've just had one come in, another one on our Instagram, but like DMs, which I think we're allowed, don't we? For driver of the day, for Hudson.
Just interested to see that Spooner was over on Twitch, but not voting for any of his boys. I mean, I don't think that's technically allowed, to be fair, anyway. But not giving it a go. So who have we? So yeah, we're still on 20 drivers, albeit one of them is in the pit. So technically 19 of the 24 still running at the wet and very challenging. It seems Snetterton Circuit this afternoon. Still Bucking out in the lead. He's extended it to 12.9. If we bring up the timing screen for a moment, everyone can just see who's where and what's going on in the world. So yeah, Buchan in P1 on lap 27, then Melvin in P2 in the InGear Motorsport AMG. Bjorkman is in P3 for Spearhead. French back into P4 after a bit of a disastrous race, really, considering he started from pole, but he's reclaimed some good points as it stands.
Yeah, I think he's done well to claw that back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's had to really fight for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Given the pace that he's had. So, yeah, all credit where it's due, really. Dom Stallman also, running with that ballast. He's definitely had his work cut out for him. He's had cars constantly around him to deal with, and up there in P5 at the moment. Moss down in P6.
So we've had a vote come in for Hamish for driver of the day, and we've also had a vote in for Mr. Heaty as well. Need to get my post-it note out now, don't I?
Yeah. Just seeing tickets start pinging in Discord. That's always a fun moment for us.
Have it.
So where are we then? We've got just under 6 minutes left in this race. Ollie Moss then in P5 still. What's he? 5.6 back from Stallman after those little incidents. Again, we'll try and find out what caused that incident with Moss just a few laps ago, where he lost a few places. Well, he lost that one place, I should say, because it did look like there was traffic involved. So just waiting to find out on that one, and then we'll see. Just see another vote for Ian, driver of the day, over on Twitch. So that's 2 for Ian at the moment, which I think would be quite fitting, to be fair, given the unfortunate incident earlier in the race. As I say, obviously, race director sent a bit of a message. I don't know if we actually commented on that, but it did go out to Billingham in game as a warning for car number 44 for that incident earlier on. Just literally sent straight up the inside into the side of poor Ian after his best qualifying yet. So he's currently leading the driver of the day vote. But yeah, come on in, type the driver's name in chat that you'd like to vote for if you'd like to vote for your driver. And then the one with the most votes will get an extra championship point, which can make all the difference when it comes to the closing stages of these championships. And in fact, a couple drivers so far had a couple bad races and not scored points, and that 1 point jumped them, like 10 places up the standings to put them on the board effectively. But so just had it confirmed then that with Moss earlier on, it was just a mistake that cost him that place with Stallman. So nothing to do with the back markers, which is good. That can sometimes be a bit of a tricky one at these stages of races. Although saying that, there is 1, 2, 3 cars ahead of him that he's about to lap. So
to be fair,
careful what I say.
All 3 of them are experienced.
Yeah,
drivers as well.
they should be all right, shouldn't they?
Fingers crossed, this should be okay. Yeah.
So having a look through, we're just seeing Sharman in his Warbird at the moment. And in fact, there's a battle between French and Corbin. It's not French and Corbin. Sorry, Corbin and Mitchell, my bad. If we jump to that, that's probably a good one to catch up on. There we are. So Corbin in the Nissan, number 96, E-Team Brit. Mitchell, after that bad start, has fought his way back through to 10th and potentially now P9. So great comeback drive for Mitchell after that unlucky start, getting caught and just spun around that little bit. So he's had a few races like that where he just had a bit of bad luck and had to kind of be playing catch up. I'd love to see him kind of be in the sort of top 5 at the closing stages of a race, because he's usually got some good pace in that Porsche. So what are we in at the moment then? Up the road from these two is French. So they're very much having their own battle. Looks like Phil Lima is back on track. 7.3 seconds back from these two. So he is out there. He must have just been stopping repairing damage or something like that earlier on. It's always hard to tell because, of course, you don't really get that kind of information out of the game unless you know someone's watching specifically how long every pit stop takes, to try and gauge whether it was, fuel or repairs or whatever. Tyres are 30 seconds, for example, to change a set of tyres in this game. Yeah, nice little battle by these two though, and that's what's really nice to see is you've got battles happening up and down the order. Even after 60 minutes of racing, 2 minutes on the clock, and P9 is having a good old scrap. Points go down to 12th, so currently that is Sandro Ballesteros, another E-Team Brit driver. You can see Mitchell just ducking in and out of Corbin's mirrors there, just to say, hello, I'm here, come here to turn 1, just in case you fancy letting me past. You can see them using all the track. It's interesting how wide a lot of the drivers go, and that looked very close coming in on the Porsche, didn't it? From Mitchell. In fact, he's looking like he's forcing Corbin to go slightly defensive there. He won't want to defend too hard because he's going to give Mitchell a better run on the way out and potentially run wide himself. We sit on the rear wing then of Mr. Corbin. Coming into a hairpin. It's a good overtaking spot this. As we say, it's not easy, but it's probably one of the best opportunities you get. Nothing so far as the leader starts the final lap of this race. Currently then it's Ian for driver of the day. Vote for Kirk, a vote for Hamish, and a vote for Phil in there as well. So there's a few little votes spread across the different channels. See if any others come in at the minute, but otherwise it's Ian's driver of the day vote. We have to make sure we catch Bucking coming across the line.
He's done amazing, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, that's sometimes the unfortunate part of when you lead a race like this. Oh, that's French pulling to the side for some reason. What's going on there? No way has he run out of fuel.
No.
What's happening? I'm trying to keep an eye and see. No, he's sped up again. I'll tell you what he's doing. He knows that he's very low on fuel, and he's nursing it back.
Yeah.
So that he finishes and gets some points rather than no points. If he just dropped to... Oh, no, we're going to see these two. I don't know where... No, he's going to stop. He's about to stop.
No.
Oh, Stuart French. Get it onto Stuart French quickly. We'll come back to that. It's literally... That is the most heart-sinking, gut-wrenching feeling. Your car just slowly coming to a stop after such a good race. Now, has he had a bad race yet? Or is this going to be his drop score, do we think?
This is going to be his drop score, and I really jinxed this because I was like, he's looking really strong.
Yeah, he's had a lot. Oh no, he just picked it up again. What is he doing? Is he letting? Oh, look at that! It's clever. Is that Bucking coming across the line?
Yeah.
That's Bucking crossing the line.
Get Bucking so he doesn't have to nurse it round for another lap.
That was clever.
Right,
that was clever.
I'm going to throw this here.
That was clever.
That would be my drop for today for pure brains of that, because A, shouldn't run out of fuel, but it happens. Let's be honest. It happens. That was absolute mega.
It's all going. What on earth is he doing? So he's taken away a point for P12 rather than not finishing with no fuel. Before that, get the camera on Bucking because we've got some victory donuts going on at the hairpin. So fantastic effort then. Bucking takes the win, his first win with us at InGear Motorsport for the British GT Championship, and his first win full stop. So awesome effort. didn't put a foot wrong that whole race. Looked absolutely planted, and E-Team Brit driver doing a fantastic job there for this wonderful round 5 at Snetterton. And that's a pretty good donut.
Harry did amazing there as well.
Yeah, big shout out to InGear Motorsport's Mr. Harry Melvin, who's joined Bucking for a side dish of some donuts at the end of tonight's racing. And oh, look at that! Look at that! P1 and 2 just sat there having a little standoff at the hairpin. I thought they might have a little.
Harry's for person, but right.
Oh, disqualified.
We definitely need to get some images of that for the social, so we can manipulate that. However,
yeah, that was like a boxing fight promo, wasn't it? Like 2 cars facing off head to head. Well, there we are then. That's your race winner then, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Buchan. Done a pretty damn good job there. So he's part of E-Team Brit 2, because there's a few Team Brits out there on the standings at the moment, and I believe that's the one that's highest up as well. Yes, it is. Currently was P3 before tonight. Vegas in Performance P2 and Spearhead Race Engineering with P1. Of course, the results will get published out after tonight's racing. Charlotte's at her spreadsheet already. What can you tell us?
Nothing. I'm just putting in notes for my social media posts.
And where can people go to see said social media posts?
InGear Motorsport, like and subscribe.
Get involved. And also then that means that Ian Hudson does take driver of the day, which is a nice little consolation prize for missing out on points earlier on. So nice job to him. Just nicked it by 1 vote there over on Twitch. So thank you for everyone that commented in and raced on during the race. But what a race that was. Just to kind of quickly summarise, I guess, before we start wrapping things up. I might even see if I can get Buchan involved on chat. Where is he? Martin Buchan, yeah. Right, I'm going to bring him up for a little interview if I can. Of course, I can't move him. Right, he's coming up, everyone. Ready? Mr. Martin Buchan.
Hey,
what a race
Mackenzie.
that was. Thought we'd pull you up for a little quick chat on stream, because that was a blinding race, mate. How was that for you?
That was pretty blinding, mate, as you say. I mean, Scotland will win something this week, I guess. But no,
yeah, I mean, that's not the fight and talk you had earlier about Friday's football match.
No, I'm just saving that for Friday, Mackenzie. You see.
Yeah. But yeah, what was it like out on the track tonight? I mean, a few drivers just kind of had a few incidents, losing track of the car a few times. Didn't look like you had any moments, but were there any sketchy moments that we perhaps didn't catch, or just what was it like for you?
Nah, there was nothing really. I mean, I kind of just shot off at the end, and then I was like, at the start, sorry, I was like, geez, I was like, am I going too quick? Have I got no fuel in the car? And then I don't know, I just managed to drive like 90%, to be honest, and just keep it nice and clean more than anything else. Because I mean, usually I'll spin off once, won't I? So kind of stop that rot now.
No, but well, like you say, it's just settling in and putting the laps in, which you could see you were doing. But pace was good the whole way through, and you actually drove away. I think it was about a 12-second gap in the end, but even in the first stint. So no, mega job. I'm sure you're probably pretty warm, want to go and relax. So I'll drop you back down. But yeah, nice job and well done.
Cheers, boy. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Charlotte, as well. I'm bloody roasting. Honestly, it's fucking frying.
On that note, we'll move you back down. Catch you in a bit.
Cheers.
Well, there we are. Race winner, everyone. Well, that was a rather eventful race, wasn't it? And nice to shake the championship up a little bit more. Dom Stallman still getting points, but perhaps not as many as he would like. French at the end there. I mean, if French wins the championship, that's the sort of thing that gives you the last couple of points, what he just did, isn't it? Let's just talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, for me, what he just did there, like, I think, hopefully everyone who races in this series watches that back and actually learns from that, and how when it's over, it's not necessarily over. If you've just got to think about it. And when people turn around and go, oh, well, you just sat in a car when it comes to motorsport or sim racing, oh, you're just sat there behind the screen. Actually, the level of intelligence that has to go into being successful at it. I think that's like a really good way of explaining it.
Especially because there's no team there telling him to do that. That's all him.
You know, if you think about it, when we was racing in real world, we'd have people sat there doing our fuel calculations for us. We'd have people on the radio for us, telling us like everything and helping. And it is really a team sport. And yeah, mega job.
Harry, I just seen Harry Melvin in the in-game chat is panicking that he got disqualified after the checkered flag. Don't worry, Harry. Race control won't disqualify you for after the checkered flag or reversing stunt driving.
He didn't even get disqualified for what he did at Spa, so we're not going to disqualify that hard.
Right, well, there we go, everyone. That is it. Another stream done, believe it or not. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with the penultimate round, which will be at Alton Park. Make sure you stick around for that one because Alton definitely throws up a few fireworks usually. Thanks, of course, always for tuning in, and do check us out on socials, and would love it if you could give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, or all three if possible, and over on YouTube as well. We're hoping to get some more videos and content and stuff over on YouTube in the near future. Life's been very busy again since the way everything's been lately, but hopefully be getting more content out and things. So please do follow and like, and really appreciate the support of everyone that watches these streams. So thanks one last time for me. Thanks to Charlotte. And thanks to Ben and George in the background, of course, everyone for taking part, and admins that help us out and help with the results and all that type of stuff as well. So that's it for us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Ain't shitty, baby, I'm hot like the prodigal son. There we go, green lights, and we're off once again.